Welcome back, all intelligent beings. It's Gaming Godfather with a follow-up review of Marvel Avengers, the game. And we'll be playing this through with Kamala Khan and our great big green buddy, the Hulk. So, without further ado, we will begin with the Hulk and get this rolling. And all we're doing here is his part of the mission, which is to just beat the crap out of all these guys and do a little something else so Kamala can kick her section of the game, of the story, in. And at that point, what she is trying to do is retrieve an old hard drive with Jarvis on it. The Hulk, not one of my favorites. He does do a lot of damage, though. So it'll be wave after wave of getting rid of aim bots and the taste of what's to come in repetitiveness. Because you'll be coming back to a lot of the same scenes with different characters. There'll be a need for it. You do need to build them up. I decided, as I was playing, that my goal would be to have everybody at least level 15 and with their most powerful leveled items. So from head to toe, or pretty much from head to waist is the way that went, to get all their equipment that was at the highest level. And it's just a lot of going back and playing the same levels over and over again, or going into the harm system, which is the augmented reality system for training. You go in there and build up your skills and your levels there as well. So it's this happening quite a bit over and over again with a story. If you are a Marvel fan, a Marvel geek, you just can't live without Marvel. And I'm going to, in one of these subsequent videos, I did some photography in-game and went into Photoshop and did some artwork to one particular one with Captain America that I really, really, really like. I'm going to post that a little bit later as, if nothing else, a treat for myself. So here's Hulk doing his smash thing. So let's take a quick peek while he does his thing, and right before we get to Kamala, and go over the wiki, which Marvel Avengers, that just came out in 2020. It is an action role-playing brawler. It's amazing. I love the different ways that they describe the types of gameplay. So this video game was developed by Crystal Dynamics, published by Square Enix's European subsidiary. I know how to read. Based on the Marvel Comics superhero team, the Avengers. The game is mainly inspired by the Marvel Cinematic Universe's iteration of the group, but also incorporates elements from the team's long-running comic book mythology, which is what they were doing. It was a slow roll in the 23 movie set to get themselves up to that point. And the best part about this game, one of the great parts about it for the super fans, are the different moves that you will open as you build your characters, and fight moves that you've seen in all the movies. So here's Kamala telling Hulk, get your ass in gear. And here's Hulk and doing kind of a similar run that he did in the first Avengers movie. Except he's not chasing Black Widow, but anything in his way, he just runs right through it. Alright, so he jumps out of screen, and here comes Kamala with her section of the story. Love this character. I love her fighting. She can kick some butt, let me tell you.
No way.
But it's a innocent teenager who is a huge fan of the Avengers because of the accident on A-Day. The Terrigen Mist gave her stretchy powers, but she will be, as she will coin later on, Miss Marvel. And Very powerful character. When you can get her in a flow and control the fighting action properly, awesome. The difference between her and the Hulk, switching from the Hulk to her, is pretty extreme. And that's the one thing that is probably the toughest part to get used to. And don't forget, folks, this is me talking about me getting used to, not what you can get used to. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that can take, a half a dozen characters and get their moves down pat before the ending of the game and be a huge help in multiplayer. So I'm hoping to enjoy going to see what some people's skills are when they get into this. So here she is, same thing, turn on power, clean up bots, turn on power, clean up bots. So we'll keep moving on the wiki and go through. So the plot follows Inhuman teenager Kamala Khan, who we're seeing right now, who gains superpowers during A-Day, a celebratory day for the Avengers, which ends in tragedy following a terrorist attack. Blamed for the disaster, the Avengers disband and allow Science Corporation AIM to take their place. 5 years later, when AIM threatens to eliminate all superpowered individuals, Kamala embarks on a quest to reassemble Earth's mightiest heroes to combat this new enemy. So, that's where we're at right now. This is the beginning of that journey. So you're watching my incredible fighting skills as I'm reading all of this wonderful information. And, yeah, pretty terrible. The funny thing about this is this is great. Hops over. Now the shield's wiped because she's hitting from behind, and boom, done. Simple as that. But that big clap she does at the end, that's I believe, XXX on the Xbox move. And the finisher, so that's 3 light hits, where the finisher afterwards is a heavy, and I can't believe that doesn't knock out their shields. It doesn't make sense. But hey, we're in comic book land, so I'm going to live with it. So moving right along, let's get the next switch, and let's get the next batch. And then we'll get to see one of her, well, we're not going to see one of her, we're going to see her main heroic power will be coming up. That's the left bumper, right bumper combination, which will grow her mighty. Oh, we also get to see the high five. That will, I think we'll actually see first. So enjoy that while I keep going on some more of the info of the game. Now, the game is played from a third-person perspective, as you can see, and has both single-player and multiplayer modes. I have not played any of the multiplayer yet. It features an online co-op mode that I will enjoy if I can find the right people to play with. People that can get my sense of humor. And, I like to be foul, but it doesn't, we don't have to use the F word every other word in a conversation. Like kids seem like it's the word of the day, and we're going to say it as much as humanly possible. No, I'd rather kind of chill on something like that. So, third-person perspective. Okay, so the initial roster consists of Steve Rogers, who is Captain America, Tony Stark, Iron Man, Bruce Banner, Hulk, Thor, Natasha Romanoff, who is Black Widow, and Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. With more characters being added in free post-launch updates, which also added story expansions and new regions to be explored, each hero possesses a variety of costume customizations, features, as well as the capacity to upgrade their powers and abilities using a skill tree. The skill tree, it is extensive. There's 3 sections to it, and each section is extensive. Although as you get into the larger upgrade, you're buying once, and you have choices on how that skill will be implemented once you take hold of it. So Kamala still getting it on. The great thing here, and I think it's just because it is the beginning of the game, the falls, there's no major consequences. Later in the game, there are times when you will fall and your character will reset. You're going to load from the checkpoint, and then move on. So Marvel's Avengers was released for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Stadia on September 4th, 2020. The game received mixed reviews upon release, with critics praising its combat and story but criticizing its repetition. So that's I'm not the only one that has a complaint about that. But once again, if you are a salivating Marvel fan such as me and a digital hoarder as me, going around collecting every little item I possibly can, so you will see a lot of areas that, maybe I'll catch something that you might have missed. We'll do that as I continue on with the playthrough. I've got several hours of video to get through, get edited, get narrated, and get posted for you guys. Want to throw in a few little tidbits in between. I think I'm going to do like, I don't know, a couple of the more casual type games, throw some quick vids up and go from there. But so far, the Marvel Avengers is heavy on my mind and worth talking about. So again, especially at this point where you're going to probably get your Ultimate Editions and it's probably on sale, no matter what you're using. Okay, there she is with her super heroic power. And see how easily she cleans house. When they're in this state, most of your heroes do not take as much damage. Yes, a heavy can knock her back, but you see damage-wise, she's still holding up pretty well and finished cleaning up house. So the lack of substantial content is what they also throw in. They throw in the user interface and the technical issues. And they're, it's, the interface is more of a desktop PC based interface. It's mouse click stuff. So Kamala's found Tony's archives because Mr. Stark did make sure he took care of storing the things that he thought might be needed to be stored. So she's being a teenager, seeing all of these items and acting like a teenager. So the character of Kamala is very much the teenager that she is, but also very much the hero she is supposed to be. Acted properly in both regards. Once again, the voice acting, I think, is absolutely incredible in this game. They did a fantastic job, and I will definitely, before the end of this roll, go ahead and speak to that. Let's see, I'm still a pretty good amount in this clip. So yeah, she's still going to be hunting around, so you can watch her hunt and peck for a while I go through the roster. And that goes like this. You got Steve Rogers, Captain America, who is voiced by Jeff Shine, I want to say, Schine. Tony Stark, Iron Man, is voiced by Nolan North. Thor by Travis Willingham. Bruce Banner is voiced by Troy Baker, while the Hulk is voiced by Darren DePaul. Natasha Romanoff, who is Black Widow, is voiced by Laura Bailey, and that name rings a bell. She's probably done voice work in other games or movies, maybe even acted for all I know. Then Kamala Khan, our star, the main character of this, the one that is going to assemble the Avengers, is voice acted by, sorry, lost my place, by Sandra Saad. So following the game's initial release, more superheroes are made available via free DLC, including Kate Bishop and Hawkeye. Kate Bishop, who is Hawkeye too. Now she is on the initial title screen along with Hawkeye himself, and she is voiced by Ashley Birch. That was added in December of 2020. Clint Barton Hawkeye, who is on that main screen as well, that he is voiced by Giacomo Giannotti. Ooh, pretty bad for a man that has a lot of Italian heritage. He was added in March of 2021, so that was a very recent add. And then there was T'Challa, Black Panther, who was voiced by Christopher Judge, who will be coming later this year. And then for the PlayStation version only, which really bums me out, you have Peter Parker, Spider-Man. So there you go. Kamala is finally going to realize that what a 1986 or 89, I forget which one Bruce says it is, hard drive looks like. And she will have Jarvis in hand shortly, which is then going to lead into a cutscene with Abomination, which is, of course, going to be a first boss battle. So we'll watch as that happens. So there's a lot to look forward to in the game. There were a few characters here that we have not mentioned, which is the supporting characters. Hank Pym, who visits us in the game, is voiced by Danny Jacobs. And I'm going to tell you right now, folks, as I keep reading this, there are spoiler alerts. So if you do not want to know who is popping in later in the game, I wouldn't listen right now. So then you will also have Phil Sheldon. I'm not sure what that point is right there. Walter Gray IV. Jarvis is voiced by Harry Hayden Patton. And as we see, the boss battle is the Hulk with Abomination, because of course it is. So I try not to do Easter Bunny Hulk here and just jump in the air and fist slam. I actually try to mix it up as best as I know how. Very horrible on defense, very horrible with holding down my right trigger to activate his gamma, the B button to avoid moves and then counter, which is huge. You are going to get a lot taken from your enemy by doing those moves. Any kind of game, any type of game like this where there's combos possible, that's going to happen. So I'm going to fight through here. I believe I've already cut this to the point where this will continue on. There's another cut in it where, cut out all the dying that I did in this, because it was a bitch of a fight, let me tell you. And it's not because of the game itself. It's not because of the enemy I'm fighting. It's because of my fighting, period. Because at this point in time in the game, I wasn't full on. The harm unit isn't open yet, so you're not training yet. So I'm not learning the moves for each one of the characters, because they actually handhold you through, showing you how to use each one of the moves. Very helpful, especially when you want to get through that repetitiveness as quickly as possible. Then go through and win every one of your encounters. Go play with some very good players online to help you out in co-op modes to get through some of the missions. That's something I'm kind of looking forward to doing, and hoping. I got to figure out how that works, since I'm finally getting serious in this foray into YouTube. When I record with other people in the recording, what happens. So Abomination's just, he's given the best monologue I think I've ever heard from a villain in a while. He basically is droning on and on the entire time. So that campaign difficulty notice came up there because of the fact that I probably, at this point, died 15 times. But you won't see any of that here. I actually do a pretty good job getting through this. Pay attention to where your health is at throughout any arena that you're in. And also be conscious of how much there is. Also be conscious of ways that you can build up that white bar without grabbing health. There are ways to do that. Usually it's heroic moves that are going to get you there. When you get to a finisher, which is the YB button on the Xbox, that one will definitely jolt you up. those are also upgrades that you will get in those wonderful trees that you get to later, which then doesn't even touch upon the costume changes that you can do. But a lot of they're microtransactions. You're going to have to spend some cash to get the type of currency necessary to upgrade those types of things, and they are purely cosmetic. Granted, a lot of them are wicked cool, and for those of you that can afford to go ahead and buy digital clothes, knock yourselves out, and have fun with it. But also, go ahead and take pictures. It's one of the things I've been trying to do. It's a little bit difficult because of the way that Xbox is formatting it these days, which it comes out in a PNG, but also a separate JRX file, which is an old Microsoft standard kind of a raw file for high dynamic range photos, and it's a split of the redundant information that's going to sharpen that picture and give it that high res look. So I try to do a combination of the two in Photoshop, and was shocked to find out that Photoshop wouldn't read that Microsoft file from back in the day. So as we keep moving on, we have, because there's a few other people here that I have not gotten to. There's actually a few names in this wiki that I don't remember seeing. But again, spoiler alerts, folks. And I won't say how they're in the games or anything like that. But Nick Fury, voiced by Charles Parnell. Maria Hill by Jennifer Hale. Dum Dum Dugan and Jimmy Woo. I'm assuming because they're together, no, they've got Dum Dum Dugan, but they don't have a voice for that. They've got Jimmy Woo by Alex Lee. Dante Pertez, Michael Johnson. Let me see if I can read something clearly here before I move any further. During the game, the Avengers come into conflict with the Science Corporation Advanced Idea Mechanics, which is AIM for short. Headed by George Tarleton. And George Tarleton used to be a SHIELD scientist that worked on the helicarriers with the Avengers until the accident on May Day. Then there's also Monica Rappaccini. She is she's Scientist Supreme and voiced by Jolene Anderson. Then there are several other enemies, including Emil Blonsky, who is Abomination. He is also one of the things that the Hulk is not. As the Hulk shuts him up. That's what you say when people want to talk politics on social media. Oh, boy. Anyway, let's see. Where was I here? Okay, we got through all the characters. There is actually Loki at a point. Travis Willingham. Which I don't believe I've seen, so I don't know if these are DLC folks or what exactly. Yeah, it's looking like some enemies here are also DLC, so I'm not going to go through those. So Kamala is now curious as to what this area is, and Abomination, as he talked during his fight, mentioned this is where he was improved. And now she is going to find a screen where she can access some information, see what's going on, and find out that there is a cure, possibly, for Inhumans. And this is where Monica Rappaccini comes in. So you'll have your typical plot twists and everything else. You already have your typical we're splitting up the team, the band, get the band back together plot that seems to be very repetitive with the Avengers. But what else are you going to do? You got to make it interesting somehow. So she gets a good taste of what's going on. You start to get the dynamic where Bruce Banner is going to mentor Kamala, because he is the closest thing to Inhuman without being Inhuman. So he can kind of understand where she's coming from with what she's discovered that she can do. The amazing part is her fighting skills. I still never could understand how that comes to be. But I think at the beginning of the game, she may have actually had some. She may have taken like fighting classes or something along those lines. So Bruce is going to get her set up in the Chimera because we will cut to that here shortly. This is a brutally calm Bruce. Brutally calm. The only one that really gets him riled up, of course, is Tony Stark, because he's got a knack of doing that with everybody, as you've seen through the movies. So, graphically, the YouTube videos don't do it justice. You play this on a current or last gen console or PC and crank up the graphics as high as your systems will allow. It's beautiful. It's got a good story. It's got very good acting. The fighting is... You'll find that you're going to have some styles. Some of them you'll have no problem with, and others are going to be a pain. So, if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Please like the video, and if you could, please subscribe. You're not going to get this many characters in this game, but that's a lot of characters, a lot of Marvel characters. And you're going to get a little more than this. So, like I said, there's Hawkeye and Kate Bishop. So please, again, like if you like, subscribe, and I thank you for watching. As always, I appreciate it. Peace.